It's the first Sunday edition of Weekend Central in the month of November. Good afternoon. This bulletin is coming to you live from the news app here at Adesawe Kanda. We are live on Facebook as TV3 Ghana and on DSTV as channel 279. My name is George Queen. Top of the stories is out. Residents of Bompata in Asante Achim South protects against destructive mining activities, destroying farmlands and polluting vital water sources. And our fear of unlost state, Togbi C. III urges government to establish University of Blue Economy and coastal ecosystems to train future marine scientists. Well, we have details of these stories and many more coming up in the next 60 minutes. If you spend your time with me, you can also get interactive with us. We are live on Facebook. It's TV3 Ghana. Let's begin from the Ashanti region. Residents of Bompata in the Asante Achim South of the Ashanti region have hit the street to demonstrate against irresponsible mining practices, which is affecting their environment. And several arable lands have been destroyed, with water bodies heavily polluted. Our reporter William Evans Inkum is monitoring the protests, which has brought almost every activity to a halt. And so let's touch base with our Northern Sector Bureau Chief, William Evans Inkum. And William, it's Sunday, so just paint a fair picture for us. How is the atmosphere there like?
Well, it's quite chaotic. I mean, many left the church auditorium to join the protestation because they deem it to be something that is, or that has everything to do with their habitat and, for that matter, their livelihood. Because to them, if they allowed any mining invasion, especially illegal mining invasion, then there's a possibility of they suffering an irreparable damages in the course of time. George.
Okay. William, so we know the adverse impact of Gulumpe on the environment. How severe is their case?
Well, see, they are talking about the fact that the Beidou River, which is one of the main sources of rivers, which is source for house chores and then drinking and what have you, now has been polluted badly. And now the only river that is yet to be touched by any of the illegal miners is the Bompata River. And to them, there's a creeping attempt to also mine along the banks of this particular river, and something that they are vehemently protesting against. Of course, they've also mentioned that most of their vegetation have been destroyed, farmlands have been touched, and they have become irreparable at this point in time. So they will not allow any mining or illegal mining or small-scale mining to happen as far as Bompata is concerned.
Okay, so Evans, I want to believe that relevant authorities have responded to this very protest, or that's not the case?
Well, so we haven't heard anything from any of the local authority as far as the Asante Achim South district is concerned. Maybe tomorrow we're likely to hear from them. But let's just listen to some of the aggrieved residents who engage us.
Bompata mine, Ghana mine now, and I'm saying your bed to make a summer. And I will watch a macumema. It's a mutual swa a pramia. Baby, already can about testing. One way so a friendly bed. Monsieur the Niaye, Obeka said, Mobeka said ye. Mobeka said ye. Yaya millionaire. Asante ache bompata ye wonso ya friend bompata. Edunie. Aya proje ya wagaloma esancho for ye wia ya de bachelor mu. Ese ye so ni nyefi. Mo amuka bie wom. Oba akofo. Maami bi promo ye friend na BB brother. Aya ne dia. Enu nti no. Osi no wavua bompatamai wabeduma makrofo ni senti akodu si BB minus ya nedia yama ne kwai na all message bompatamai enam so wapeduma ma obi so mi busase ebra na all peduma makrofo no okaso mo se yamfa pronation nsa na da chi o message yaman maye me yobata yo me bakola ketwa so many background say obetimi akoni nsen yakwa wo so a yabawo kwala o madidem yenye so fanya diane.
Evans, do you have any response from BB Mining?
Well, they have not spoken to us yet, but we are getting indication that they are likely to react maybe from tomorrow.
Okay, sure. Evans, you all know that we attach some sort of seriousness to weekdays. So what really went into the decision for them to choose a Sunday for this very protest?
Well, that one has not been shared with us yet, but from afar, I could deduce that, most of the residents normally ply their trade outside. Some also, it's a small community. So Sunday probably is the appropriate time for them to have all these members of the community converge and then also take any action, especially when it has to do with their livelihood. Because some of the people that we cited in this particular protestation were those natives of the town, but they were also coming from other places where they ply their trades.
Sure. Thank you so much. William Evans Inkum is our Northern Sector Bureau Chief, updating us on that very development. And you're still watching Weekend Central here on TV3. In line with government efforts to indigenize the mining sector, Pristia Sankofa Gold Limited has announced plans to significantly increase its gold recovery output. The government-owned tailings processing company aims to scale up from its current rate of 50,000 kg with an enhanced production scheduled to begin in 2026. This was announced by the Managing Director, Alhaji Ishak Dauda, during a media tour. Erama Smith has more.
Pristia Sankofa Gold Limited, owned by JNPC, is a mining company that extracts gold from historic tailings and waste ore in the Pristia Gold Belt. The company has positioned itself to support President Mahama's goal of increasing indigenous Guinean participation in mining operations, thereby boosting resources for national prosperity. During a media visit, the managing director, Alhaji Ishak Dauda, announced that a new improved tailings dam is scheduled to be operational by the end of December to increase profitability. This new facility will augment the existing one, which has reached its full holding capacity.
This one is not the ordinary ones that you see. This one will have geotextiles so that even when there's any amount of leakage, it doesn't get to the soil. There are a lot of news, a lot of instances where you see or hear on the news that the mining areas, it is never safe to even eat their food. We would want to properly control how chemicals get into the system.
He also disclosed that they are currently refurbishing all their processing plants to significantly boost output, adding that as part of their long-term sustainability strategy, they have procured their own mining concession to scale up operations.
The tailings that we are buying, at a point in time, it won't be sustainable. So definitely, you need your concession to be able to mine the hard rock. Other than that, a time will come, if you are not getting the tailings, then it means that you may have to stop your operations. So we are in negotiations with other stakeholders to get a concession. That's not one, maybe other, multiple concessions that we can do our rock mining as well.
With these strategic initiatives, Prestia Sankofa Gold Limited is poised to improve operational efficiency and contribute significantly to Ghana's mining sector. Irama Smith, TV3 News, Prestia.
Away from the Western region, the Minister for Local Government, Decentralization and Rural Development, Ahmed Ibrahim, has called on the Environmental Services Providers Association, ESPA, to reconsider their decision to embark on a strike on November 7. Speaking to the media after the November 1 Sanitation Day exercise, the minister said the concerns of ESPA are being addressed.
We've met them as a ministry. We've discussed a lot of things. I've promised them I'm going to meet other stakeholders and come back to them. So there will be engagement either tomorrow or day after tomorrow. But in the interim, we've pleaded with them, and that's why today they all took part in this exercise. That problem with ESPA will be resolved.
We are joined on phone by Amo Fori Entry, who is the Executive Secretary of the Environmental Services Providers Association, ESPA. And please, are you concerned by the Minister's assurance?
Good afternoon and good afternoon.
Amma, can you hear me? Well, if you just tune in, you're watching Weekend Central here on TV3, and we are active on Facebook. Amma, can you hear me?
Hello, good afternoon
Amma,
and good
so
afternoon.
are you concerned by the Minister's assurances?
We want to thank the Minister for his acknowledgement when we made a call, and also for his prompt and swift response. We want to also let the Minister and Ghanaians know that we need resources, we need logistics. We need logistics to continue to do our work. So it's not that we are being confrontational with government, far from it. When it comes to the work of sanitation, it's capital intensive, especially management of the landfills, the treatment facilities, and the recycling plants. So we are just making a plea to government to come in and support our sector. Let's show that leadership again as far as our government is concerned. We need stronger leadership in the sector. If we have to do new reforms, let's address it head on, so that even as we provide the services, because it's an essential services, let's have a policy in place that we could even be paid quarterly. Because if we accrue so much debt and your bankers have to take you to court before we take actions like this, they are not good. So going forward, we need to reform the system, come up with very technical and systematic ways of making a lot of corrections in it. Because what we do impacts on health, tourism, well-being of citizens, and we do not take delight in coming out to say we have to go this way because we are not getting the necessary support.
Okay.
So all we are asking from the government and all Ghanaians is a support so that we can get logistics to continue to provide the services that we always provided for Ghanaians.
Amma, how much is the outstanding debt owed by government?
As an association, I've received almost about 10 to 15 letters, and I've not compiled the figures, but it's in millions of cedis, because the payment has the arrears are some as far back as 3 years ago, some are 2 years, some are 9 months, some are a year old. So it's a huge debt. Land sales have not been paid for, the one even in Kumasi. So it's not only Accra that we are paying out. All the land sales in the country nationwide, all the treatment facilities nationwide, all the recycling facilities nationwide. So it's a huge debt that we are calling on government to come in and support us.
Okay. So, Amma, let's look at regional representation. What is the spread of the contractors owed?
What? I did not get that question.
Let's look at the regional representation. What is the spread of contractors owed? Regional representation.
The regional representation, it's almost 12 regions.
Okay. Before I let you go, I know MMDAs have been asked to review their first cost recovery. How urgent is this very call?
Please, can you repeat that question for me?
Okay, so
again?
MMDAs have been urged to, actually review their fixed recovery cost. How urgent is this very call?
Okay, with the metropolitan and municipal and district assemblies, we have the 360 regime. Yeah. And during that regime, the assemblies also fix for us. So, what we are asking the metropolitan and municipal district assemblies to do is have 2025. You know, they normally start the 360 regime November and December.
Sure.
They should give us cost recovery fees. It's one of the reasons why my members who are also doing the door-to-door services, those that come back to your houses to collect the money are not breaking even. That is the reason why we are not providing the efficient service that we have to give to Ghanaians. You realize that most of our cars are repeating. Why? Because this by government is always based on the social needs of people instead of looking at our overhead cost of operations. So we are pleading with all the metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies also to ensure that in this year 2025, they give us the 3 fix that are cost recovery. They should take the full cost of our operations into the work we are providing. If not, we cannot continue with the fees that are not. The fees are making most of them lose. As I speak, almost 30-40 companies are on the verge of collapsing, and we don't think this is fair to the sector. That's why we are calling on the metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies also to fix full cost recovery fees for us. They should take into consideration the cost of the contractor.
So before you take
the cost of operations.
Before you take leave of us, does that mean that you've rescinded your decision not to protest? It seems you have issues with Amma connecting to her, and then she is Amma Ofori-Entry, the Executive Secretary of the Environmental Services Providers Association, ESPA. Away from that, the Awomefia of the Unlost State, Hogbetsotso III, is appealing to government to establish a University of Blue Economy and Coastal Ecosystems in Anlo to train the new generation in marine science and climate adaptation. In a speech read on behalf of the Awomefia at the 2025 Hogbetsotso in the Anlonga on Saturday, he also urged government to upgrade the Ohawu Agricultural College into a fully functional university.
At the Hogbe Park in Anlonga on Saturday, thousands of sons and daughters of Anglo gathered to mark what remains one of the biggest festivals in Ghana, the Hogbetsotso. This year's festival also received participation from government officials, royals from across the country, and people from the international community who had come to have a taste of the rich culture and tradition of the people of Anglo, which was on full display. In a speech read on behalf of the Awomefia Hogbetsotso III, he appealed to government to establish a University of Blue Economy in Anglo to train the new generation in marine science, climate adaptation, and sustainable coastal management.
The appeal for the conversion of the Ohawu Agricultural College into a University of Agri and Environmental Sciences. This aligns with the agricultural corridor spanning Zote, Veta, Apipe, Aveno, and Mafi, and will anchor food security, youth employment. Beyond this, I urge government and our development partners to work with us to establish a University of Blue Economy and Coastal Ecosystems in Anglo, an institution that will train new generation in marine science, climate adaptation, and sustainable coastal development. Our lives are tied to the sea. Our future must be built around it.
The Awomefia also called for peace and unity in the Anglo enclave to enhance development. This year's event was graced by the Kwamuhini Odinihokwafo Akoto III as a guest of honor, a move he said cements the shared relationship between the Anglo people and Ekwamuman.
There is a bond that links Akwamu, Anglo, and Asante. A bond older than the modern states, grounded in the respect, mutual aid, and the understanding that though we are distinct in tongue and custom, we are united in spirit and in purpose.
Chairman of the NDC, Johnson Asiedu Nketia, who led a host of party functionaries to the Deba, bemoaned the increasing cases of chieftaincy disputes in the country and urged traditional authorities to put their houses in order.
Our worry now is that the institution that is supposed to help us to maintain peace in the country is unfortunately becoming an arena where peace is disturbed. If the chieftaincy institution is able to rise to the occasion and resolve all the chieftaincy problems in the country, it will save government's expenditures that should properly be going into.
The Hogbetsotso is an annual festival celebrated by the Anglo people to commemorate their exodus from Ngoche to their present-day locations. Faisal Abdul Idrisu, TV3 News.
Meanwhile, the Chief of Staff, Julius Deborah, has reaffirmed President Mohammed's commitment to establishing the Volta Economic Zone to create jobs and transform the region's economy. Speaking on behalf of the President at the Grand Deba of the 2025 Hogbetsotso, Mr. Deborah said the initiative will mark the turning point in the development of the Volta region and the livelihoods of the residents, while congratulating the chiefs and people of Anlo Duko for sustaining and protecting their beautiful culture heritage. He also called for support and prayers for the Mahama-led government to be able to deliver on its mandate. Take a listen.
64 years ago, when the president of the time, Osajufu Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, thought of the idea of building a dam across the Volta Lake, many people doubted it. Some even said it was waste of resources. But we now have Akosombo Dam that supplies electricity not only to Ghana, but to some of the neighboring countries. In the same way, President John Dramani Mahama is also conceived of a vision to establish what we call the Volta Economic Zone. He believes that all the water that runs from the north into the sea goes wasted. Therefore, if we are able to invest and to develop either banks of the river into agricultural production zones, whereby we will add agro-processing industries, factories, and create a zone where we'll be able to export and also to enable river transport between Ghana and the Sahelian countries. He believed that will go a long way to create a lot of jobs for the people in the Volta region and the people in Ghana as a whole. My request today is to appeal to all the chiefs and people of Volta region that anytime you go to the traditional houses, anytime you go down on your knees, please, 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 remember your son John Dramani Mahama in prayers, and let's pray so that such an important vision shall come to pass in our.
Away from the Hogbetsotso festival, some Ghanaians are expressing concern that the country's cultural identity is gradually being diluted by the growing influence of foreign cultures. They point to noticeable shifts in areas such as food, language, and the film and music industries as signs of this changing cultural landscape. Nura Mohammed has more in this report.
From the dry climates of lands inhabited by weavers of the smocks that tell tales, to the gilded soils that dip the southern hemisphere in royalty, Ghana has been blessed with rich cultures that have stood the test of time. However, the advent of technology and globalization has led it, just like many other countries, to share and adopt new cultures. This phenomenon, known as cultural diffusion, often occurs as a result of trade, migration, and more recently, the widespread use of social media. And while this can unite countries through shared cultural experiences, at what point does it become an embrace of foreign cultures at the expense of one's own? Some netizens have started drawing attention to how Ghanaians may be slowly losing their vibrant, revered and preserved cultures through the adoption of others.
The youth of Ghana today, they are becoming too lazy. We used to create our own language, create our own lingos, slangs, but now all you people do is you just they copy. Everybody they use jakpa. Everybody they say you buy me. Like how come? What level of copy be this? Those days we go make some Ghana word plus some English word, we then take vibe. You the bab.
Right now, Ghanaian picture is literally dying. We don't even appreciate our own Ghanaian names and Pokrasi. Cynthia Fori, look at the way Nigerians have glazed it. It's like right now, they've even taken it for themselves on Pokra. We don't glaze ourselves enough. We wait for the Nigerians to do it and then we go and follow. Then you, what the hell do you mean, Suya? Hey, Chichenga, Agbachi.
But an associate professor at the Department of Sociology at the University of Ghana, Akosia Kesebwadakwa, thinks this is a non-issue and explains why.
Cultures have been mixing for eons, right? If we take clothing, what we wear, it's not what we traditionally wore. How we communicate now, it's not how we communicated in. If we are quite happy losing our languages, our local languages, then we cannot be worried when we are now adopting other people's languages, because otherwise we won't have a form of communication. The mixing of cultures is a very old phenomenon. And there's literature around, is it what they call cultural hybridity. Secondly, I'm not exactly sure how much of a quote-unquote problem we think we have.
Culture can fuel development through promoting entrepreneurship, preserving heritage, and promoting tourism, thus benefiting the economy and creating jobs. As the world keeps connecting and getting closer through cultural diffusion, the question is where to draw the line and how to strike a reasonable balance between preserving our Ghanaian culture while embracing other global cultures. Noura Mohammed, TV3 News, Accra.
In more news this afternoon, the issue of self-medication among Ghanaians is becoming alarming, and medical experts have cautioned against the practice. The World Health Organization has also cited it as a major public health concern globally. Here's a report by Rosalinda Abajua.
Self-medication is said to be particularly prevalent among young adults and the elderly, who often cite convenience and mistrust of healthcare professionals as reasons. Some have also urged that self-medication is being encouraged by the proliferation of social media, where unqualified individuals promote unverified treatments. The World Health Organization, WHO, has sounded the alarm on the dangers of self-medication, citing it as a major global public health concern. Here in Ghana, statistics indicate that about 53.7% of Ghanaians practice self-medication. Experts have warned that the practice can have devastating consequences, including an increased risk of adverse reactions, overdose, and even death. A cross-section of Ghanaians share their stories about self-medication.
Normally, I just go to some pharmacy and tell them I want headache medicine or just some paracetamol, then I'll be okay. That's what you know, that if your head is aching, you go in for para or anything. So, because if you go to the hospital or any clinic, maybe the cost to be too much. That's why you choose to be doing it like that.
So for headache, you wait for some time. If it's unbearable, then you take para. If I take the para and then I see that it's not working or it's not doing what it's supposed to do, then I know that maybe there's something more, so I just take. Because sometimes it could be stress or...
A physician specialist and fellow in training in gastroenterology at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Dr. Fatima Mohammed, urged the public to desist from self-medication, emphasizing that the practice is harmful.
You can take some paracetamol, but I must say that paracetamol is not an innocent drug. You are taking just one dose of paracetamol. Be sure that if the symptoms don't go away, you have to get to your doctor for a proper diagnosis. Some people take paracetamol for fever for a whole week. And what you are doing is that the paracetamol just makes the temperature go down, but it doesn't treat whatever is causing the rise in temperature. So you need to get proper diagnosis. You get the treatment that you require.
She advised people to have first aid kits at home, at least with basic pain relievers included.
You need a first aid kit at home. So you need something for pain, as I mentioned. So if you have an acute pain, let's say acute onset of a severe headache, you'd need to take something to reduce it. You also need something for in case you get a wound or a cut at home. So you need a dressing set. You may also get spirit, just to clean up when you get a wound or a cut. But even after that, you need to seek medical care, because sometimes some of these cuts are not clean. You may end up getting tetanus and other bacterial infections. So after doing the first aid, which is good, you need to still see your doctor.
Self-medication may offer temporary relief, but the risks far outweigh the benefits. Experts are urging the public to take responsibility for their health by consulting qualified medical professionals, which remains the most effective way to manage one's health.
You're watching the Weekend Central here on TV3. We're going for a quick commercial break. We're back shortly. Stay with us. Welcome back from the break. Let's know what you make of stories that have aired so far. We are active on Facebook as TV3 Ghana. Engage us with your comments and observations. Hopefully, we read them and share them to the rest of the world. And now, the Chief of Staff at the Office of the Vice President, Alex Segbefia, has reassured the people of government's resolve to strengthen the country's peace and security architecture to safeguard the nation. Speaking on behalf of the Vice President, Professor Nana Jinopokwajiman, at the joint graduation ceremony at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center in Accra, Alex Segbefia also said there are ongoing diplomatic efforts to reintegrate Niger, Mali and Burkina Faso into the regional community to curb violent extremism.
Illegal mining, cybercrime, and the growing risk of violent extremism in our sub-region continue to test our resilience. That is why the government of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama remains unwavering in its determination to strengthen the country's peace and security architecture. Ghana's peace is bound to that of West Africa, and our progress depends on the collective stability of our neighbors.
He said government has given approval to revive construction and completion of an abandoned project at the center, which he said would be through a robust public-private partnership.
This decision reflects the government's firm belief that Ghana's peace and security infrastructure must not only be preserved, but strengthened to meet modern demands.
Co-founder of the West African Network for Peace Building, Emmanuel Bombandi, charged the graduates to always exhibit empathy in all their engagements.
We must be informed by the loss of life that motivates us to do more, to live in peace and in peaceful coexistence. To foster understanding of diverse perspectives, it's essential to cultivate the empathy I've talked about, especially within communities experiencing grief.
The ceremony was on the theme, Building African Agency for Peace and Security in a Changing World.
Alex Segbefia is the Chief of Staff at the Office of the Vice President. And our Chief Executive Officer of the National Youth Authority, Osman Ayariga, has urged young people to be fearless and claim their place at the decision-making table. Speaking at the ECS Africa Youth Day, he emphasized the importance of accountability, noting that leadership and institutions must remain transparent and answerable to the public, especially the youth.
According to the Chief Executive Officer of NYA, a nation's development depends not on age, but on the free flow of ideas. Commending Ghana for its growing commitment to youth welfare, he encouraged African leaders to create space for young people in policy making and challenged the youth to champion the Africa they want to see. In his remarks, the Minister for Youth Development and Empowerment, George Opariado, highlighted the need to empower young people as strategic partners in national progress.
Providing access to education and resources and providing an environment where all our youth envision and dream of becomes a lived reality. Our commitment to this cause was fundamentally elevated by His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, by the establishment of the Ministry of Youth Development and Empowerment, a decisive act by this government that moved youth affairs from the peripheral to the very heart of national cabinet. We've also inaugurated the Ghana Youth Federation to unify the representation and forming the youth sector working groups to ensure youth priorities are integrated across all government sectors. And these working groups has representatives from all key government ministries and agencies.
The dialogue session featured interactive discussions with representatives from the education, lands and natural resource, agriculture and labor sectors, as well as Ghana Enterprise Agency. African Youth Day is celebrated on November 1st by African Union member states to recognize the contributions of young people to the continent's development and to encourage investment in their potential.
In Regional Hub this afternoon, residents of Gulumpe and its surrounding environments are appealing to the Ministry of the Interior to lift the dusk dawn curfew that has been in place since late October 21. And the curfew was imposed following clashes between two rival youth groups on Sunday, October 19, reportedly over the loading of charcoal.
The curfew, which has been in effect since Tuesday, October 21, was imposed on the advice of the National Security Council following a major conflict that erupted on Sunday, October 19. The unrest stemmed from tensions between two local factions, reportedly over the loading of charcoal. The clash resulted in 4 individuals sustaining severe wounds and caused close to 1,000 residents to flee the community in fear for their safety. The streets curfew, which includes several regulations intended to prevent further violence, appears to have successfully stabilized the area. A significant portion of the displaced population has since returned, with current reports indicating that about 90% of those who initially fled have come back home to resume their lives. Despite the restored stability, residents are now appealing with the Ministry of the Interior to consider lifting the ban. They note that while the curfew was critical in the immediate aftermath of the violence, its prolonged existence is now being felt by their community eager to fully resume its economic and social life. We want to plead with the Interior Ministry. Now there's no chaos here. They should please lift the ban on us. Our community is now peaceful. They should consider lifting the ban. What we always wanted was peace. It's not our intention that something like this would happen. So we want to plead with the Interior Ministry. They should please consider lifting the ban so our life can go back to normal. We will admit that we have been irresponsible, but we have now learned from our mistakes, and so we would plead they should consider and lift the ban. We plead. The sight of the previously clashing factions working side by side during the sanitation exercise serves as a powerful testament to the community's desire for peace and stability. The regional minister has equally praised their show of unity and reconciliation, assuring the initiation of all administration procedures to ensure the lifting of the curfew ban.
Indeed, there is peace in Gulumpe, and from the way things are going, I don't doubt that there will be issue tomorrow. I don't. So we are going to initiate all the administrative procedures to inform the appropriate authorities so that the curfew can be lifted. I have trust in the people that there will be no issue when the curfew is lifted.
Meanwhile, the regional minister is urging them to be deliberate in keeping the peace they are currently experiencing.
In the absence of this police post in the catchment area, we will humbly also request that in case there is something, please, they shouldn't resort to violence. We have other nearby police posts. We can move to the nearby police post to lodge their complaints.
Although the Ministry of the Interior had already reviewed the curfew hours to 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. from the initial 4 p.m. to 6 a.m. on October 28, citing their responsiveness to the security protocols, it is yet to give a definite timeline for the full lifting of the curfew. Residents remain hopeful that their show of unity will urge the ministry to fully lift the ban to allow them live a normal life again. Belinda Tete, TV3 News, Gulumpe.
In a swift measure to addressing the poor performance of basic school children in the North Gonja district of the Savannah region, a 9-member committee has been inaugurated to investigate and engage relevant stakeholders aimed at improving educational outcome in the district. The committee is expected to complete its works by December 31, 2025. Records from the Education Directorate in the district show that over 80% of pupils in the district who completed junior high school between 2018 to 2025 failed to pass their exams. And now my colleague Christopher Marco sat through that very engagement and joins us on Zoom with more on this very development. Chris, what were some of the issues some of the stakeholders identified, and how are they intending to address these challenges?
Yes, so George, first of all, the our stakeholders indicated that about 40% of the challenges when it comes to education lies in the how responsible parents are in ensuring that they give their children better education. The other has to do with the infrastructural gap that exists in the district. You talk about inadequate classroom block, inadequate furniture, teacher bungalows, and other identifiable challenges when it comes to education. These stakeholders have all agreed that each of them is going to play his or her part to ensuring that education is given the needed attention in the district. Let's take a listen to what some of the stakeholders have been saying.
We have always said that education is a collective. And so while central government has a role to play, parents also have a role. I'm not surprised that basic things are still non-existent. And that's a bane of our educational system and structure. So we are confident that this team we are going to put in place, we are giving them up to 31st December. We have teased out the key issues that, many people have spoken, but if we put all together, we have got some thematic areas that we want to look at. So that committee will move around from community to community. The key one, about 40% has to do with system-based and support from community and families. And so that's that aspect that we want to drive from there. And our part as administrators, central government and assembly, we will do our bit in terms of provision of the school infrastructure, teachers' quarters, teacher motivation. So these are three key things that
Chris, we also understand that some teachers in the district contribute money to buy learning materials. How is this a concern to the teachers?
Yes, so the teachers in the area have also indicated serious concerns about how they have to use their own money to buy teaching and learning materials. And according to them, that is very, very unfair to them, because it means that if you're unable to get money to buy, you will not be able to teach the children. And this also adds some financial burden to them. They have also indicated that efforts to get the North Gonja District Directorate of Education to, as it were, supply them has yielded no positive result. But the Education Directorate has also indicated that they have limited supply of these teaching and learning materials. And so that accounts for some of the schools not getting these teaching and learning materials, and teachers having taken it upon themselves to contribute to buy these teaching and learning materials. Let's take a listen to one of the teachers in that stakeholder engagement expressing these concerns.
Actually, using your own money to buy teaching and learning materials is not easy, because telling a teacher to buy a book, to use his money at least 1.5 or 1.2, some of the books. So sometimes they don't feel it, but because we are there as to do the work, to serve Mother Ghana, some agree. But when it's time for the children to learn, sometimes you will group them, and when grouping them, we have challenges. You can group them 6 or 7 within a book so that they will learn. Or when you even write on the board, some of them sometimes it's not easy to teach to be in a group.
Christopher, before you take leave of us, during the engagement, was there a representation from the students? If there was, what is the response coming from them like?
Okay, so the students have also taken a portion of the blame for the poor performance in the area. First of all, they have indicated that indiscipline amongst them, and also the fact that they do not take their books seriously is one of the too many issues that accounts for their poor performance. And so they have also indicated their resolve to ensure that once all these stakeholders are taking steps to addressing these challenges, they as students will also up their game when it comes to taking their studies seriously. But one issue that we saw or observed has to do with the fact that the community assistant police, or Zoom police as they are called, have also taken an initiative in the community to go around houses to ensure that every day children who refuse to go to school are driven from their homes to their various schools, so that enrollment will be enhanced, and also it will creep up interest amongst the children to go to school.
Christopher Marco, thank you so much for your time, and that's how we end Regional Hub this afternoon. And now the special prosecutor is expected to press charges against 6 former government officials by the end of November over the Ghana Revenue Authority and Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited contracts. This follows an investigation that revealed public officials allegedly enriched themselves unlawfully, causing significant financial losses to the state. Responses have been mixed, with some questioning the OSP's delay in pressing these charges. The following report has more in the details. And we are live on Facebook as TV3 Ghana. Get interactive with us. Let's know what you make of this investigation between the GRA and SML. We are active. Contribute with us. We'll read them and share them to the rest of the world. Let's watch the story. So we're going for a quick commercial break. We're back with more news. Stay with us. Well, that's all time will allow us for today. That's how we end the bulletin. For more news updates, just log on to our website, s3news.com. Alternatively, you can join my colleagues, Aisha and Crosby, at 7 on News 360. Also, hot issues at 1 p.m. right after this very bulletin. Thanks for watching. It's always a pleasure coming your way. Good afternoon.